I'd like to call the February 2nd, 2021 bid board meeting to order. We have acknowledgement of a quorum. First item of business is approval of minutes of January 5th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Any second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Just going back a minute, Justice was the motion to approve. Kathy seconded. Right? Am I right with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Financial report, Jess.
Great. Well, we've made it through our first month of 2021. So you have the 2021 financial report here in front of you. You can see the fund balance is now $215,202.89. There were a few expenses in January, not very many. Our independent audit expense, marketing, we had three expenses. The most major expense in the marketing line was the final payment of the Discover Wisconsin episode that aired in May. And then we also have electricity costs. Those are the cost of the lights on the top of the buildings that we'll talk about shortly. We do have an encumbered expense for the lights and decorations as well. Those were taken down last week. There are still a few ornaments in the beds that are frozen in. So David J. Frank will be back to take those out when they thaw. And then also a couple of trees that are still wrapped. But otherwise, thank you to all the volunteers, the Public Works, Fire Department, and Parks and Rec Department for helping out and taking down the garland. We did it on a -4-degree day, and we're really quick in taking them down, and thanks to Nicole for organizing it all. The other expense was the $1,500 in assessment adjustments that we discussed last meeting for the three properties that were improperly assessed. So, are there any questions at all on the financial report?
We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Justice, second from Larry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, roofline lights. This was originally, I forgot who brought this to was it Larry, I think? Or,
Yep.
Tony also.
yeah. Okay.
Yep. So I was able to connect with Rob Steiner from Steiner Electric. He gave me a great background on sort of the expense or the investments we've made in the past several years. He wasn't able to attend this meeting, but he said he would be happy to come to our next meeting and provide us with some cost estimates. I guess this was probably the most helpful maybe for us to see is back in 2018, we replaced 2 buildings with LED strip lighting. So that was the Brazen Head and then the building south of the Grasshopper, and that cost was about $4,000, so for 2 buildings. He said that cost, of course, is likely to change, but he'd be happy to kind of work up an estimate or something based on the buildings that are out or needing repair. We may need to, a couple of the buildings in the past didn't have a lease, from what I understand, or opted out to have the lights, so we would need to talk to them to see if they want to participate in the future here. So if you'd like, I can have him come to our March meeting or put some numbers together, or, I guess that's up for discussion.
Just to understand.
Larry, you have to use unfortunately, you have to face forward.
I would welcome some input as to taking care of those lights downtown, and possibly even generate a plan to extend those to the river side of the buildings when they complete the river walk. And
Good
just kind
idea.
of tie
That's a
the
great thought.
Main
Yes.
Street in the river together. And it might be worth looking into doing LEDs and maybe replacing the lights. I have no idea what the expense would be. I think that the German Fest committee put them up the first time, but that was over 20 years ago, I would think.
So the first time it was done by German Fest, and the cost was about $90,000. When we looked
Downtown.
when we looked at replacing with LED and 2018, it was like 210,000.
Well, let's get a
Yeah, no,
look at
I'm
that.
just I'm giving you some history. And then the other thing I think we should think about is, yeah, it's great to do the backside of the buildings. And I was going to bring this up at a later point, but I can do it now. I got a phone call from a business owner down on the south end of the bid. Had some concerns, and one of his concerns and he said, I realize it's where our business is, but we really don't get are part of what's going on Main Street. So I think if we're going to do something with lights, we should also think about extending at least down to bits and pieces, and start including that part of. I mean, that is part of the bid. We go down to Chestnut. So to stop at Walnut, I don't think is, that's our whole corridor entry-wise. I don't see that it makes sense to go up onto 6th, but we definitely, I think if we're going to do it, we should have them look at what will it take to do farther south, and include them in some of what we're doing.
I've heard that concern from a business owner in that general area also.
And I think the other thing we could think about is Hartford went through this about the same time we did, but they took a little different approach in that they did a citywide fundraising effort and got the whole community involved and did kind of like a GoFundMe, but a similar kind of thing because if you remember, right, in 18, those of you who were here, there was a huge outpouring from the community of don't take the lights down, but nobody wanted to fund it. So, and I don't know that the bid can really afford a $200,000, even though we got money in our account, we've got future things that also have to be looked at. If the community's that passionate, let's get them involved.
Well, is Hartford, is their downtown, do they have a bid?
No,
See, well, that's a big difference.
no, it's not.
Well, we're taxing the landowners.
We're taxing the landowners, but they could get other community members who want to be a part of it, let
I
them do
don't,
it.
I don't think that's a problem, but I can see where the difference between Hartford and West Bend is. They don't have a taxed bid district annually.
I don't know why that affects anything. The bid can still put money in, but we could do fundraising for more.
I don't have a problem with fundraising.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
that's
the idea,
fine, but we
yeah.
have funds that we raise every year.
Right, no, I'm saying we can put some in,
No,
but
but
I don't know that we can
community
get to, if
support,
it's
not just the
200,000 to do, was in 2018, and LED has come down in price, my guess is if you do the front of the buildings and the back of the buildings, you're looking at probably $300,000.
Well, I think that.
And we
it
need to
should be
find
looked
that out.
into, and it could be staged. I mean, you could do.
That was
Yeah.
my thought too.
Have to
Why
be all done
not,
at
why
one
not
time.
do this and put a plan out there and not all do it all
Right.
in one year?
No,
but-
exactly.
But make a plan to do it in stages. I think that would be the way to approach it. And I do like the idea of fundraising for it.
Yeah, and, the community was very passionate about keeping the lights, so let's,
Well, what if, like, I know on my building, like, when I go up on the roof, there's like a light track. There are some light bulbs in it. Like, what if I just replace those? They wouldn't be the same, but,
per the agreement that the building owner signed previous to you, you don't have rights to touch those lights.
but it's my building.
Doesn't matter, the building owner signed off that only at that time, and if you look at the document,
Yeah.
the Downtown Association's the only one that can do anything with those lights.
Because German Fest put them up.
Right. And the concern when they were put up was who's going to maintain them and what's going to happen, because the building owners said that we don't want anything to do with these. So that's also why my building doesn't have any on it, was when we reconstructed in 2007, the Downtown Association took our lights down per the contract, and then when we asked them to put them back up, they had disposed of them, so they didn't have them anymore. So, because they're responsible, technically downtown is responsible, the bid has taken on the task of maintaining them for the downtown, but the Downtown Association still owns all those lights.
Well, couldn't we, I mean, I would think that if the bid took over that portion of what the Downtown Association was doing, why couldn't we approach the building owners and see if they would want to be responsible for the lights themselves? I mean, why would one organization want that when the building owners own that?
Problem you're gonna have is you're gonna put up different lights and I'm gonna put up, and you're gonna have this whole mishmash of lights, and it's just not gonna be consistent. I could put in a different color temperature, because these are cheaper than what you're gonna put in, and it's just gonna be a mess.
Could we write up like a real specific contract?
There is a contract with each building that has them right now.
I mean, can we rewrite, I guess?
If we wanna go and get all these building owners to re-sign.
Okay.
The other issue is the city doesn't want ownership, and the bid can't have ownership. So that's the other thing that would have to be addressed. Now, the city may decide to take ownership if we switch over to LED. That may be a different story, but in the current condition, 2018, there wasn't a desire by the city to take ownership. So that's why the bid left the downtown own them, and we did the maintenance.
It's a little messy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about lights, and I know this might be getting off the subject of illuminating the buildings, but if we're going to be illuminating the backs of the buildings toward the river, why didn't we do a better job of lighting those beautiful new bridges?
That did cross through my mind too when you mentioned that. I thought, oh, we could do
I'm
the bridges,
guessing it
too.
was cost.
I'm sure, but I certainly think it would add
It'd be
to,
pretty, yeah. Could be.
And I'm guessing there's no power to the bridges.
there's lights on the bridges already, I believe.
I don't know. Maybe on the, yeah, I don't, Jay's saying no, shaking his head
There's
no.
not. There's not.
We talked about it, it's something that could be added, but it's not in any active works.
Okay.
They plan on moving that one bridge down by Kevin's again anyhow, don't they? Take it off when they do the construction? So I don't think it would be hardwired at this point for, yeah, just the deck? Okay.
So why don't we do this in interest of time? Why don't we have Jess talk to Steiner's and have them give us some ideas? Not, I wouldn't put them through a total, hey, give us a total bid. Because we're going to have to write up an RFP. If we're going to replace them, we're going to have to do an RFP, and because of the dollar value, it's going to have to be publicly submitted to 3 bidders. So I don't think it would be fair to Steiner's to say, hey, give us all this, and then either we don't move forward with it or other people get to see what they did when it comes to the bid process. So why don't we ask him to just talk about what the maintenance would be, and then just kind of a high-level number of where he could probably look back at 2018 because he did that then, and just give us an update on that.
I do think, though, that it is something that the bid should pursue, because it's, like, we've done so well with so many things downtown. The Christmas was unbelievable, but it's
feedback.
noticeable. It's very noticeable that buildings don't have lights. So if we
I hear about
could,
it from everybody,
It-
about the
exactly.
the lights on the buildings and the Christmas decorations.
Right.
I hear about it all the time. Yeah.
yep, exactly. So I do think it is something we should look into for sure.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I think they look really cool.
All right, I'll plan to connect with Rob, and we'll have a report for our next meeting.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what is she looking for from
She's
Steiner?
going to talk to Rob about what it'll cost to fix what's there,
Okay.
you know, temporarily maybe, and then if he has a rough idea what it would cost to convert to LED. They did it. We also paid Steiner's to do a complete drawing of everything, so we have the entire schematic now of where all the transformers are and
Oh, cool.
all the
Okay.
power and all that. That was all paid for by the bid when they did this update.
Yep, in 2017.
So that'll make our life a lot simpler this time.
Maybe they would be able to recommend a plan for doing it in stages as well. You know, in the years to come, let's maintain, but perhaps switch over to LED on certain buildings and stages.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, next item is board committees. We have 3 committees that are standing out there. One of them, I think, was dissolved. There's the Transportation Committee, which consists of myself, Tony, Larry, Jay, and would be Jess because she would replace Adam. We have another committee that was done for the Commons that, I don't know if that's still active. That was done with the, and I don't know if we need to keep it active, for, when we finished the Commons project, and then
Our coffee guys.
they brought the coffee guys, and then the COVID hit, and then the coffee guys couldn't get their loan, so they didn't come. And then we have a third one, which was done for marketing, which that's the one I think was disbanded because it was all done, but I'm not positive. So I guess the transportation, I think we definitely need to keep. The Commons, I don't know that we need anymore at this point. And then marketing, I think, is a question that needs to be discussed as well. So why don't we take care of the obvious ones first? Larry, do you want to stay part of the transportation?
Yes.
Okay. And Tony does as well. So we can keep that group going. Commons, looking at heads, I don't think that needs to, but Peggy, I think you were the chair of that, right? Or was it Tony?
No, I was. Yeah, I don't think that needs to continue for now until the world changes a little bit
Yeah.
and there's going to be more opportunity for people.
Right.
Okay. And then the marketing, the question I have, and this has been asked to me by several people, and it was actually asked to me by this one in a roundabout way, the business owner that called me. I know in the bylaws it says we're supposed to be doing marketing, but I question the definition of marketing. And my question to it is it the bid's responsibility to be doing marketing for individual businesses, and even as a whole, like we did with the COVID, but it still comes down to, if you look at what we did this year, it was restaurants, it was retail, it's heavy on events, that are happening down there, but we're missing all the service, we're missing a lot of people. So is the effort for marketing, and is that terminology for marketing really mean that the bid should be advertising and promoting what the bid does and why you should be moving your business into the downtown and that side of marketing? Is that really the marketing that should be happening? Or if we go the first way, how do we include and make it relevant for Kathy's business, Ken's business, Tony's business that are service businesses? How do you build equity? The dentists, the lawyers, all those people who are paying into the bid, but all of our marketing efforts have always been focused on retail and restaurant. And my opinion is it's my job to advertise my business.
I think that's where a marketing committee would be very helpful, is they could help devise a plan to make sure that the tax dollars are going for all of the businesses downtown. And I think that a lot is missed, Mike. I agree with you. You could say that by advertising all the other ones, it brings the interest of people downtown, and they say, oh, I didn't know this business was here. So you never really know for sure how well your marketing dollars are spent, or how they're taken, if it works or not. But I think that the bid could benefit from a marketing committee to try to figure some of that out.
I think your first step is what you need to define. What do we mean by marketing?
Exactly, that's my question.
That's the most important thing.
What is the marketing in our bylaws? What does that really mean?
And I don't think it means that we advertise individual businesses. That's not the function
Or even
of-
sectors of business?
I agree.
I would have a similar but different view on this, and I'm going to use winter warm-up as a template. Looking at this past year, it was outstanding what happened there, and the amount of participation with sculptures and the amount of people down there. It reminded me of Fall Fest with the traffic that was going on. And then I look at it last year, and I realize it has to evolve, but there was less sculptures, less participation from the city. It was mostly downtown. And so with that said, my view would be maybe not so much marketing, But what if there was a collaboration kind of committee? And what I mean by that is have someone from the city of West Bend, have someone from the specialty shops, have someone from the bid, have someone from the downtown. We have all these individual entities. With the common goal is how do we leverage all the marketing resources in those entities to trumpet the city of West Bend as an experience, not a series of events, but an experience. And could that garner the same outcome we saw with Winter Warm-Up this year when we had participation from all those entities within the city and strengthen numbers? If we market West Bend as an experience centered in the downtown area, the rest takes care of itself. You'll market your business, you'll market the bid, you'll market the... And I just think if we looked at it much broader and drew in resources, think about the resources I just rattled off, Chamber of Commerce, everybody who has resources available to market currently. And so that's what I would kind of take a look at is West Bend as an experience, not just a series of events and then leverage everyone to maximize that. Just a thought.
So I totally agree with what you're saying. The one thing you have to be really careful of is if people are looking to the bid to finance this, we can only spend money on things that happen within the bid. So for example, the winter warm-up, where stuff was happening in the park, Lac Laurent, our monies can't go towards that because it has to be spent within the bid. Or if Barton did something collaboratively, we can't have our monies going that direction. So you have to be, it can be done, but it has to be done very carefully to make sure that the dollars are being earmarked and funneled in the right directions. And it's a little more complicated as people in the past have found out is per statute, when we say we're going to, in a sense, contract with somebody to do marketing or do a project for us, there has to be a contract written up, and then they're paid once the bullet points in that contract are hit. So it's not just a here's $10,000, go market. There's a definitive contract that has to be written, and then this board has to approve it.
Could it be, and I don't like to use other cities as a template, but look at Hartford. So they found a way to let's create a fundraising event. So could you expand how you channel funds by including a larger portion of just the bid to whatever entities?
I don't know. That would be a question for city finance, the attorney and Jay, I guess. I don't know how all that works. I just know where we're constrained to where we can spend money. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Hartford does have a bid. So they did take the lead in the fundraising for their lights, and I can talk to Steve about the details of that. But I do know that the funding all came from either the bid or from that fundraising effort led by the bid, which is something that you could consider here for the lights. Not to go back to that other topic, but just to be clear that Hartford does have a bid, and no city funds were used for those LED lights. And they're really cool. If you've seen them in Hartford, they're really nice. And ours, I agree with you all, ours needs some work. I was down there Friday night again and noticed that there are several of them out. Regarding the marketing, communications, collaboration, I think there's more and more of that has gone on. Winter Warm-Up was a great example of that. Jess, being a professional and leading that department for us at the city, has really taken us to a higher level, and watch for some more exciting things to come from that in the future. We can figure this out, and I agree with Mike, we have to be careful about the bid board funds being spent only within the bid, but those can be directed funds specific to the bid, and then other funds can be added to it potentially for events outside of the bid area formally. So you're only promoting events and specifics inside of the bid. I think, it's your call on whether you keep a communications marketing committee moving forward or not, but it certainly is one that if at least is created within the bid, you guys have more control over directing where your funds go in the future and how you choose to collaborate or not with the city. We house your funds, as you know. Mike mentioned the finance department here takes care of the funds on behalf of the bid, and Carrie is awesome. She does a really good job of keeping that clean and keeping Jess and myself in line regarding the use of those funds, and just, I guess, know that your funds aren't being commingled with the city. I know that every once in a while that might get confused, but that's not the case. They are very specific and very specifically used just for the bid, and we'll continue to keep it that way. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not saying it can't be done, it's just we have to be really careful how it's done. You know, I think it would be great if we could do some collaboration with Barton and, you know, do a city-wide event. I think it would be really cool. So I guess the question is then the marketing committee, and maybe what needs to happen is there needs to be a subgroup of like 3 people here first to kind of figure out what we want to do, and then, you know, reach out to the community and see, is there maybe somebody up in the Barton area, is there somebody within the community that has marketing background that wants to be a part of some of this? They don't have to be bid members to be on a committee. We have to have representation of the bid on the committee, but it doesn't have to be made up only of bid board or bid members. And maybe we can leverage some people within the community to participate and help us with some of this, you know, that we're trying to figure out. Any thoughts? Ken's nodding his head, so I'll say, yeah, you're on the committee.
Well, marketing's not my strength, but to your point, instead of limiting us to resources within the bid, is there people within the city of West, Epic Creative comes to mind? Are there resources we can add to this to really level up our line of sight as a committee there, and again, maximize the impact to the city of West Bend, not just, because if the city of West Bend wins and benefits, we all do.
I think we need to slow down and start from the ground level and just determine what we mean by marketing.
And that's what I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
this first group needs to be a couple people from the board to figure out what marketing really means, and then we as a group need to solidify that, and then we can go out and start getting other people. I totally agree. Do you want to chair it?
I hate to do that because I go from here to my home in Rhinelander, so, but I'll be involved, certainly.
Well, it's going to be
Sure.
done virtually anyway.
Oh. He's got me there.
You can meet virtually. You have the marketing background in this group.
Sure.
Okay. You want to be a part of it? Peggy, do you want to be? I know you were involved in it in the beginning.
I would be if you need me to, at least for this ground part, and then.
I think that
See what
it's
happens
important to
from
get the most involved
Now-
at the ground level here.
Yeah, the key to, just so you know, that because this is a subcommittee of the bid, it's got to be a public meeting, so we got to go through that agenda process of publishing it to the public and opening it to the public. So you can't just have impromptu meetings and decide, okay, we're going to meet. So you have to coordinate with Jess so that we do proper meeting announcements and make sure that it happens
Okay.
correctly. Okay? So what do we have? Ken, Justice, Kathy, Peggy, and you're going to be in charge? Basically, it's coordinating with Jess is really all you got to do, and then
I understand.
you guys can set up a Zoom or a WebEx through the city and do it all remote.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Do we want to say April meeting? We have at least some update and direction at that point. That gives you 2 months.
Sure.
And if you get something sooner, let Jess know. We can put it on the March agenda. Okay. It takes us to the April meeting date. That is Election Day. So this room isn't available. The week after, this room is not available either.
Yep. Which brings us to the 20th.
Yeah, or do we move to the police department the week after? Do we move to the police department conference room for that one meeting rather than push 3 weeks in? Or do we stay the same week and just move the day for that one meeting? I don't know what everybody else's schedules look like. I
So
can,
keeping the same day would be, we wouldn't be able to keep it at City Hall, most likely with the
no,
election.
I'm saying instead of having it on Tuesday, have it on Wednesday.
Oh, sure.
I think that's fine. That's fine.
As long as it's early, yeah. Like, as long as it's the same time.
Larry, could you call in for,
I'll be down in Marquette, so that probably wouldn't work. But you'll have a forum. I'd like to see the agenda.
yeah, you'll see the agenda.
Okay, so we'll see what's available on
See what's available
The
for that Wednesday.
that Wednesday.
And if it doesn't work, we can, I just don't want to go 3 weeks out. So we either go 1 week out and go into the police department conference room.
Is that a problem?
No, I'm just throwing ideas out there and people picking.
That would work for me. I don't have a problem with Tuesday in the conference room.
Why don't you see what's available?
Sure. I'll see what's available and send out an email, and we'll update the public calendar as well.
Okay.
So March, we're meeting as normal?
Yep. March is.
March is meeting
as
normal.
planned.
It's April that
Okay.
we're messing with.
Gotcha.
So at the March meeting, we can give an update as to where it's going to be and if it will work that second week if the conference room's available. I know that we will not go to the fire department. It's too small. We tried that once. That did not work. So if the police training room isn't available, then we'll have to come up with another alternative.
Sounds good.
And then last item is agenda items for the March meeting. Anything burning? Otherwise, you can just let Jess know and we can get it on the agenda. If not, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe and enjoy the great winter weather we're having.